Welcome to Legends in the Making, the podcast for founders, parents, and leaders, coaches, anyone who refuses to settle for a soft culture, watered down truth, or misaligned success. I'm your host, Erin Sarles Bowers, mom of two, builder of movements, the creator of the legendary leadership alignment method, and the co-founder of Blueprint to Bluechip. I don't do fluff. I don't coddle. I help leaders, athletes, coaches reclaim their identity, raise the bar at home and in their lives, and build legacies that won't burn out or break down. If you're ready to stop performing and start leading from the inside out, then you're in the right place. And today's message is this is a special episode around fatherhood in light of Father's Day on Sunday. And fatherhood isn't just a role, it's a mission. Men, biblically, men as designed by God are designed to lead. You are here to lead. And most men have been told to soften their edges, dial down their convictions, maybe stay out of the way. I also think about what do we do as women that have demasculated society, wanting to be like a man and act like a man, and I can be just as good as a man. We were designed by the Creator himself to be different, not unequal in our worthiness, not unequal in our who we are, but by design, we were designed to do different things and to function differently within this world. And it's okay to understand what those roles are. And you're starting to see a lot of conversation around divine masculinity and divine femininity, and also a lot around toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. But a lot of what we're seeing, even out in society today, is what's being described as toxic masculinity is actually masculine. And we're getting it very confused. And the reason why it's so confusing and why it's causing such a stir, because it's out of alignment with the truth. And the truth is the way that God, source, the divine, the creator made us. Just like we don't argue with gravity is what holds us down here on this earth, what's keeping me seated on my chair so I can record this episode with you. The same thing is in effect when it comes to masculine energy and feminine energy. There are two polarities. And the masculine energy is the one that's meant to lead, that's meant to provide the structure. And the feminine energy is to be the receiver, to be soft, to be loving. And we have completely flipped all of this on its head. And you see it in society today, and it's unnerving. Unnerving. So we're here to talk about how do we take that back? And how are your sons? How are our sons being raised? They're being trained by TikTok, peers, passivity. They don't know what it means to walk on the right side of the street and put their mom or the girl on the inside of the sidewalk. They don't know how to open the car door. They don't know how to make eye contact and have a conversation. They don't know how to shake somebody's hand. Like, we're starting to lose very basic things. So this is a call to reset, not just for fathers, but the standard of manhood we're building into the next generation. We need men to be men, and we need women to be women. And to understand that it's okay to, as a woman, I don't need to be like a man, nor should I want to be like a man. I'm not less than any man on this earth because I'm of the feminine nature, because I'm of the feminine energy. I'm no less than anybody else. I'm just here with a different energy to serve the world. Both equally needed and both equally as important to come into balance. And so why does this matter? I want to speak to fathers today, not just the ones showing up on game day, not the ones but the ones who are actually building the next generation. Because what I see right now is a culture war on conviction, a culture war on masculinity, on strength. Our sons aren't being raised to be masculine leaders. They're being programmed by screens, softness, and the fear of being too much. I just think about even the subtle differences in my own father, and then I look at my son, and it's like, it's amazing the difference between how my father was raised and how my son's being raised. And even my ex-husband, like, where are we moving? We're not moving towards greater, like, conviction within a man, greater understanding of, you are designed to be the leader. You're the one that's here to create safety and security within the family structure. We have made being a man a bad thing. And we use phrases like toxic masculinity, which I think make fathers afraid to lead. Structure or discipline is labeled as controlling or oppressive. And we also see just the absence of fatherhood. What does the lack of a father in the home do when raising a society? It's creating chaos in boys. We didn't eliminate toxic masculinity. We eliminated masculinity, period. And now we're watching the results. So, what sons actually need from the father? Sons don't need dads who are nice. They need dads who are anchored. They need dads that have expectations. They need dads that hold the standard of what it means to be a man. That's what these young men need. And the same goes with moms and their daughters. The same applies. Do you focus on your consistency over compliments? Are you showing up consistently holding your child to the standard? Yes, you might compliment them. Compliments fade, but are you shaping and building habits for who they are supposed to be as a young man? Do you give them vision? Do they have clarity of who they're supposed to be? Your sons need clarity. They need a vision. They don't need a hype man. If you treat them the way you want to be treated, if you hold them to the greatest standard of being exceptional, that is love. That is hype. That is what our youth is seeking. We've conflated all this stuff is to be unloving. It's so loving for us to hold a standard for ourselves. It's so loving. That is love. Just like God has love for us. He's holding a standard. He's just waiting for all of us to get there. He doesn't mean he loves us any less. It doesn't mean that we're not going to fall down, fumble, and not pick ourselves up. But he's holding that space for us to rise into our greatness. That is your role as the masculine leader within your homes. Are you raising them with conviction over comfort? Boys don't grow through ease. They grow through pressure. With protection. You're their father. You're there protecting them. Just like God loves all of us and is always there, you can be there. But God is always calling us to the highest standard. And that's your role as the dad. Is a loving father, is to go, I see the best in you, and I'm going to love you all the way to the standard. And I'm going to let you fall down and learn the lessons. I don't need to criticize you. I need to remind you of who you are supposed to be. And what you are currently doing, is that a reflection of your greatness? And I am going to call and implore all men out there, fathers, if you don't start setting the standard within your home, there are other cultural influences will. TikTok will, Snapchat will, you name it. It will. There are so many things trying to get the attention of our kids. And if we don't have strong masculine forces within their lives, we see what it's doing to our society and culture. We're watching it in front of our eyes. You guys are paramount to the success of our society. Strong men who have a standard and lovingly hold their children to that standard. And I promise you, if you won't lead them, and if you won't lead your sons, they're not going to follow. You are setting the standard. And we need more of that. So what are 3 things that I would just offer in this episode of what you can do to raise a leader? Number 1, structure. Predictability creates trust. How do you develop routines that teach self-leadership? Boys don't repel against structure. They collapse without it. Do you have expectations? What is your structure within your home? I think my dad, I can think back to myself. My dad very much held the structure of what was going on. My mom was the one that was probably doing the more communication and, here's how this is going to go down and get this done. But you always knew if you didn't get it done, who you ultimately were going to answer to. And it wasn't going to be my mom. It was going to be my dad, especially if we didn't do it after my mom asked us. Because he also ensured that we respected her in what she was asking. So part of strong masculinity is also a man showing what it means to respect the feminine and the mother within the home. And that respect then creates how they respect other women. So it's so important that you create structure. And within that, then too, what are your standards? Do you have clear language? Do you have clear consequences? Do you have clear leadership? Do you not move the goalpost? Do you just say, this is the standard, this is what I expect, and there's no bending? It doesn't matter if you met it or not met it. What are you going to do next time if you didn't meet it to ensure that you did? You are here to hold that goal. You're here to hold that goalpost, not move it. You're here to go, this is the standard. Or you didn't hit that, why not? What are you going to do differently? What are the consequences for not meeting that? Because that is love. Part of the love that we need to understand is when we are doing stuff that is not in alignment with the truth of who we are, we get to reap the consequences of that behavior. And we have to learn from it. That's it. And then I would just implore you to be the spiritual leader in the home, whatever that is for your home. But do you hold a standard for your kids around, and your son specifically, around what it means to be in relationship with God? Whatever faith you walk in, there is a higher source that is here guiding us. And how do you anchor your children into that, specifically your sons? So I think with, the spiritual aspect comes your purpose. What is our purpose? Why are we here? There is a higher power that invited us to be here. So with that, there's a reason why we came. Are we teaching our children that they have great purpose to offer and to give to this society? That's why we came here. We need to help elevate them into who they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to be. That is the spiritual work that you have as a father, that we have as parents, is for them to help them remember who they are. Your sons don't need another coach. He needs a commander with a heart, someone who knows the battles and builds him for those battles. You know what you faced. How are you equipping your son as well as your daughters to be ready to fight those battles? How are you giving them the tools to do that? The world calls it control. God calls it covering. That's your job. That is your job. You can't outsource fatherhood, not to the school, not to the coach, not to YouTube. It is you. And we need you now more than ever to step in to the masculine leadership role that God, Source himself, called you to be and designed you to be. So if you're a father or a parent who knows you've been leading with guilt instead of clarity, it's time for a reset. If you know your family can use this type of work, I've built a 5-day experience for families who are ready to lead again, to come back into alignment, to reclaim their power in a world that feels out of control. It's called Raising Exceptional. It's a 5-day reset for parents and athletes. It's completely free. It's completely free. I just ask that you make a donation of choice, and it's catered to the 5 days that work for you and your family. So I'm going to include the link below where you can book onto my calendar and we can get you started. I cannot wait. It's so important. And I will also be hosting a live event the Thursday after Father's Day called Raising a Weapon, the Parent Code for Higher Character Sons. So if you'd like to join us for that, DM me event for a seat. Stop apologizing for leading, and let's build sons who don't just play the game, but lead it.